The president approved 11 new private universities yesterday, yesterday, I think. You can see the list. 11 new private universities. None of these universities are located in any part of northern Nigeria. None of these universities are owned by any personality from northern Nigeria. All private universities, all from the south. And you're wondering, what is happening to the north? Are the northern elites or people from the north, are they not interested in education? It's really worrisome to think 11 new private universities, none of them from the northern Nigeria. And this is the same northern Nigeria where Ramadan, they are closing down schools because of Ramadan. Even in countries where we go for pilgrimage and all of that, they're not closing down school for Ramadan. School can coexist with Ramadan. There are a lot of politicians or a lot of wealthy people from the north who will invest in education. No, they won't. And the people are not even bothered about that. 11 new private universities, none of them from the north, all from the south. And it's really, worrisome, some of the things that happen in Nigeria. And in another show of shame, the Lagos State House of Assembly, the impeached or removed Speaker Obasa is now back in the saddle. I don't understand the kind of democracy we have practiced in Nigeria. It's just appalling, the kind of things, the dynamics that happens in Nigeria. Speaker removed by overwhelming majority of the State House of Assembly, and after 49 days they are bringing him back. Not even what happened to the impeachment, nothing. This same man was removed by majority of the House for financial recklessness, for all manner of accusations. All of a sudden they are bringing this same man back into office in a just twist. The people in Lagos do not even have a say what happens in the governance of Lagos. The people are not even in the scheme of things in what happens to the governance and political leadership of Lagos State. This same man was removed by a majority of the House for financial recklessness, misappropriation of funds, and all manner of atrocities. This same man had just been brought back, not because the assembly member wants him back, but because of certain class or certain elites in Lagos State just want him back for their selfish interest. Come to think of it, this is the man that has spent 10 years as Speaker. Someone I even say he's not even from Lagos. What kind of democracy are we practicing in Nigeria? All this is a show of shame. And this is the country that wants investors to come. Meanwhile, those who are charged with the responsibility of managing the affairs of Nigeria, whether at the state, local government, or at the national level, they do not even adhere to the laws that govern the country. It's a shame what has happened in Lagos. It's a big shame what has happened in Lagos. Whether the president is involved, of course he'll be involved. Whether the governor is involved, whoever is involved, it's a shame. The kind of politics or democracy that is practiced in Nigeria. And in the midst of all of this nonsense happening in the country, the traditional rulers, nothing to say. But when it's time for people to protest against bad governance, when it's time for the youth to protest against police brutality, when it's time for the youth to protest against bad leadership, the traditional rulers will just come up from nowhere telling people, calm down, don't protest. I think the traditional rulers we have in Nigeria, they have outlived their usefulness. The traditional rulers now being partisan. But traditional rulers are partisan. They now have preferred candidates who will win the election for them, who will win the election in the state and all of that. Traditional rulers. So I think the traditional institutions, they've even outlived their usefulness. They're no longer relevant because they are always on the side of the elites. They cannot call people to order. It's only when the people want to protest against government, the traditional rulers will come out with all their regalia to tell people, calm down, don't protest, don't do this, do that. But now that the people are hitting up, politicians are hitting up the polity, politicians are keep quiet because they are their friends. I just don't want to mention states, but the traditional rulers, They have now become useless in Nigeria as far as I'm concerned. They have no use. Imagine the show of shame happening in Nigeria. If it's not happening in northern Nigeria, it's happening in the east, it's happening in the west, it's happening in the south. Everywhere. Things are falling apart. The poverty is just there increasing. Things are just growing. There's going to be an increase in electricity. There's no increase in income. Nobody's even talking about the increase in income. But things are just increasing at different, levels. Now, we no longer have an opposition, in Nigeria. Because as far as I'm concerned, the PDP is dead. Labour Party is dead. What we have are individuals in politics. We no longer have political parties, which is one of the main drivers of democracy. Nigeria is practicing a unique democracy that is laughable across Africa and across the world. And when Donald Trump calls Nigeria a shithole country, people go for the jugular. But the realities on ground even makes it even worse than a shithole country. It's appalling what is happening in Nigeria. It's appalling. God bless Nigeria.